Hi guys, it's Kelly here and back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from the new Hero Studio release. This month's theme is Tranquil Terrarium. I'm going to be using the card kit this time around, which includes these beautiful stamps and coordinating dies, and then also these separate dies, and some cardstock, some clear card fronts, I think some gems too. And then in addition to that, we're going to be making another card with the same kind of feel with the beautiful butterflies, what are they called? The Hello Fungi, the Secret Garden cover plate, and then the arches, infinity arches, and the tree stump die. So here, this is the Secret Garden cover plate. I have never cut mine apart. The two flowers in the middle come out. They have that open section. I always just run it as one because I still get the frame around it, and then I have like those two extra pieces. I'm using the tree stump again. I'm not cutting it out separately. I want all of those little teeny tiny mushrooms. And then the other ones that I'm fitting in are the ones from the kit, which is like some really large, pretty ferns, its own tree stump, which is a little bit smaller, some other greenery, a butterfly, and that one has an arch shape in it as well. The kit does. That's the one that you see up there to the top right. I am going to find a similar size in the arches for the card that is being made with just regular everyday products, not kit products. And that was actually really simple. It was easy enough to find one that was pretty similar in size. And then so I'm going to cut them both out of white. So that's going to give me a white frame, because what we're trying to create here is a kind of framed focal point. And there's two different ways that you can do that. So you can see I've cut out the Secret Garden cover plate a couple of times, one time out of that pine, which is dark green. I've cut a bunch of the die cuts. They are all out of white. You could absolutely use colored cardstock if you prefer, but I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending and coloring with my Copic markers. So here I'm just going through and kind of sorting them all out before I move on to my ink blending. So let's talk about the blog hop, because there's a blog hop going on, which is open until April 6th, and you can win a prize. I love prizes. You guys know that. And so the prize that they are giving away is, I think, a $50. I'm going to check for you. I'm pretty sure it's a $50 gift card. But while I am waiting to check on that, let's talk about what we're doing here. This is sped up just a little bit because it is a $50 gift card, by the way, open till April 6th. So I like to, when I am creating a frame or a focal point that's going to be in the middle, these are kind of like mini scene frames, but you could put anything you wanted in the frame. This is just what I'm doing with the products that we have on hand. But when you do that, if you use your inks and put down your lightest color first, which in this case was Salvage Patina, and then you add your colors to the edges, going out darker and darker, it creates this halo, which guides the recipient's eye directly to the lightest part. In this case, it's in the middle. Sometimes it isn't always, but in this case, it's in the middle. And so it's really going to like highlight that and help the card to seem a bit more dramatic, because we're having that contrast, which is giving us dimension. So my blue combination is Salvage Patina, Salty Ocean, Mermaid Lagoon to Uncharted Mariner. And I'm going to show you what that looks like, because Uncharted Mariner is pretty dark for our greens. We're going to be doing Twisted Citron, Mowed Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness. I do like to do my ink blending twice because I feel like that gives me the better blend. But if you find that maybe you're a little heavier handed, you may want to just do it once, because if you do it twice, you might end up with a darker center than what you want. So you can also do this with one color, by the way. I've shown this before in other videos with one color. But here I need some ground to put my little tree stumps on. So now that the blue is done and it's blended twice, I'm going to go in and do the greens. And I'm trying to leave it to be the lightest where it's meeting the blue, kind of just like fading off kind of softly in the background. Really, I know it seems like a lot of work for like something you're not going to see a lot of, but if you don't have the something in the background, it's not going to feel like this lush, leafy little, window that we're looking into to maybe like a little magic forest kind of vibe is, I guess, what we're going for. So here you can see that it's pretty light in the center. We have that a little bit of drama. Here's the part that everybody gets scared of, and it's the black. And I understand that it does seem harsh, but if you don't put the contrast in there, then it's not as dramatic as it could be, so it's not going to draw the eye. It's not going to pop. That halo won't pop. So once I do the black, then I am going to go back in and work my way back into the lightest colors. So over the black, I will go Uncharted Mariner, Mermaid Lagoon, Salty Ocean. And I don't think I even went back to the Salvage Patina. I was just trying to get all that blended in. But you can see when we create that darker halo, same thing with the green, we added the little bit of black. The black doesn't really look black. The black looks like a darker version of whatever color you're using. So if we had put the black soot over the Villainous Potion, then it would be a darker purple. So it really just depends on what you're going with, but it really creates this kind of dramatic center, which is what we want. So this one on the right is I did the same way, except I didn't go all the way into the center with the colors on the second time. So here, we're going to do the same kind of halo look with the cover plate, because there's, like I said earlier, there's two different ways to kind of build up that framed look. One of them, which is the one that we're using with the kit, we're going to build our own frame, which I think is a great way to do it. But I also understand that sometimes you don't have the time, the desire, or the dexterity to be gluing all those pieces. So this is another way that you can get a very similar feel with a lot less work. So I am still, covering the whole thing with my lightest color, and then moving out to my midtone, my darkest color, the black, my darkest color, the midtone, and then the lightest color. But by leaving the edges in the center, the lightest, again, we draw the eye because our edges are super dark. So that middle section being the lightest, you can see it happening already, even as we're, just going through and adding these darker colors. We haven't even added the black yet, but you can see how that middle section just draws you right in because it has the lightest edges. So this is a really, really great way to help your focal point shine, no matter what your focal point is. Okay, so back to the details about the blog hop. I already told you it's open till the 6th. You're just going to hop along. There's tons of really talented crafters on there with lots of inspiration. So this time around, I only ended up using the card kit, but the die of the month also has a lot of leaves in it, so you could probably use that one as well. If you are like, I like the idea, but I don't want to get on the kit, I totally understand. They also have one that is, what is it called? The fern. I'm going to remember it, guys. What is it? Fern and mushroom and ferns. Which will give you a very similar look to the kit, and it has like the mushrooms and a very similar style of greenery, and that one's available at all times. Speaking of things that are available, here I did them all with distress or Twisted Citron, and then going in and adding just a little bit of shading with Mowed Lawn. You could do them all with ink blending. I would probably recommend getting a little bit more of a detailed size brush. I am using the small, but maybe one of the more detailed ones would work better. But I'm going to go in with my alcohol marker, so I'm not even worried about it. Here, this is a neat little trick for you. I wanted to do a butterfly in both of them, but I could not find my butterfly die. It's honestly probably buried under my desk somewhere. But I also didn't want a black outline, like stamped image, because everything else is dies. So my little fix for that was I pulled out the beautiful butterflies from Hero Arts. It is a bundle, and right now it is on sale. We'll come back to the sales, but I stamped it in fade out no line ink. You can use any no line ink or light ink color. And now I'm going to go in with my markers and I'm going to do a no line coloring look. So then when I die cut it out, nobody would be any the wiser that it was a stamp and not a die cut, because I'm going to blend the edges into my scene. Alternatively, if you wanted to, once you get it die cut, you could blend out the edges to the very edge of the die, and I don't think anybody would really notice. So I chose, because I knew I was going to do my mushrooms like my normal cool red combination. So for my two butterflies, I chose to do red as the darkest color, and then orange and then yellow. So one, it would still match everything. Two, it would totally pop on like the blue sky and the green, because green and red is they're complementary. But also because then I have that, so I have a warm red versus a cool red, because I have that, red orange going on. So just some things to share. If you have a whole scene and you're like, I really could use a die for XYZ, but I don't have one, just see if you can find a stamp and do some no line coloring. So now here we're zoomed in. We have that coloring done with the butterfly, and then we're going to do a lot of the shading for the leaves. This is going to be the frame that we are building with our own die cuts. This one is a little bit more work, but it does give you a lot of versatility to kind of play around with where you want your focal point to sit, so you're not covering it up, so everything is, nice and full and can be seen. You have a lot more control. Alternatively, I'm doing another little technique with the cover plate, but you could also do this, what we're doing here with the cover plate. Going in with your markers, pencils, whatever you like to do, and adding that bit of shading to really put in a lot of dimension. Like I said, I'm going to do a different technique for the other one, but this is something that is an option for both. So anywho, the sale. So I don't know if you know this. Hero Arts was purchased by Spellbinders. And so because of that, they're having more sales than they ever had before, which I think is great. But one of the things that they are having, because obviously they've taken over the company. Maybe they have some excess of products that maybe, they have carried for a long time that Spellbinders no longer wants to carry. Regardless, there is pages and pages and pages of last call items that are fantastic. So some of them are stamps, some of them are dies, some of them are stamp and die bundles, some of them are older card, or what do they used to call it? My Monthly Hero, older kits there. They have some inks, they have some liquid watercolors. I loved their liquid watercolors, and I'll probably still use them, honestly. Stencils, foil plates, like there's just a ton. So if you have not been in there to check out what is on sale, I would highly recommend it. I would highly recommend it for anybody, but if you're on a budget, it's a great time to pick up some extra stuff on a cheaper price point. But then they also, that beautiful butterflies, the one that I used, that one is great. It is on sale. I think it's like $5 off or something. But they have other butterfly sets in that last call section that would work just as well. So we have colored the various leaves. Now this is the butterfly that's included in the kit. It's got a base layer and then this wing that sits on top. And so I'm just using those same colors that I used before. And when I laid it on here, I was like, okay, I do like it, but it doesn't have as much dimension as I would like. So I'm going to bring in some grays to add just a little bit of shadow in that white area. Because if everything else has, shading, then the white wouldn't have no shading. You know what I'm saying? So I was much happier with that. For the mushrooms, there's mushrooms that are included in the kit that have, that's the ones you see me coloring here, that have pieces that go on top of them to create their polka dots. So they're a layer. Whereas these little guys are part of that tree stump fancy dye, and they don't have anything over top of them. So I'm coloring the white portion of the mushroom with some cool grays. I did kind of mix it up. I used cool grays for some, and then you'll see here in just a minute, we're going to use warm grays for others. For some of the ones that are kind of like the mushrooms that you see growing on like the sides of tree stumps or downed tree stumps. In the kit, they also have like some moss. If you're, that would be really great to kind of add in. But anyway, with these ones, there's no layer to the top of the mushroom. So you want to make sure that you're doing the lightest color, the gray portion, whether you're using warm gray, cool gray, whatever you're using. You want to make sure you do that first, because if you try to go in with the reds first, your lighter ink colors will for sure pick up that color and just drag it right down. So we definitely don't want to do that. So just something to know. Make sure you're using your light colors first. And I am, because I am coloring them white, I am leaving some white in those areas. Really, we're just adding in the shadows. And I know they look probably pretty dark right now, but once they get into the scene, they will look white. And here is our reds. So you'll see these are the ones that are the layering pieces. I just added the darkest portion to the bottom, and then the top portion will be the lightest. So we talked about the blog hop. We talked about the last call sale. I think that's it. I think we're officially safe to get into story time. So here, this is a funny story. You guys know that I recently in my video, I had shared with you that I didn't go to Oregon because my mom was in the hospital. My mom is still in the hospital. And I appreciate all your kind words and all of your prayers. You guys are so wonderful. And I definitely feel the love and I appreciate that. So while we're still trying to get her numbers up on her platelets and white blood cell count, we're still waiting for those to come up. I have been obviously visiting my mother at the hospital. So I have been, we made arrangements for childcare when we were going to go to Oregon. And we just kept those same arrangements with my in-laws. So that way, we could just be at the hospital. So I would come home at night and I would stay up trying to, get whatever work done that I could get done. And then I would take it with me and take my laptop with me because, she's napping a lot. My dad's also napping a lot. He's not in the hospital for any reason other than to visit my mom. He's just tired. They take a lot of naps. So when I'm there and, they're napping or whatever, then I can work on, getting a couple of things edited or, just whatever I have going on. So Saturday, I think it was Saturday, I went in, let's go back to this. So we colored the tree stump and then the smaller one, you can still see like the wood grain. With the bigger one, you can see it, but it was just a little bit harder. So I did go in with the darkest color and just kind of outline that so that you'll really be able to see it in the final card. So anyway, so Saturday I had a video that I had planned on leaving to go see my mom at 4. And I finished doing the video, I finished the voiceover, I didn't have time to set it to upload. So I was like, well, it's going to take 100 years because I'm at the hospital, but I'm going to be up there for hours anyway, whatever, no big deal. I'll just take it with me and we'll just deal with the consequences of it. So typically my videos are anywhere from, 20 to 35 minutes. This one's a 35. It's kind of on the longer side for me. Let's talk about the card. So here, this is the frame that we are going to build. So I've turned my frame over and I've done a little bead of glue kind of around the edge, and I'm placing down my leaves so that they are gluing to the background, like that background that we have, the little frame. And then I can flip it back over and I can get it kind of where I want it to be. So I'm messing around with it a little bit, trying to make sure that I can fill in those areas. So this should have been a clue to me in the first place that I had grabbed the wrong arch, because both of my sides, like both of my edges, didn't meet. I ended up having to tuck leaves down there because I grabbed the wrong one. But it's whatever it is, right? So here I'm just going through, I'm adding glue and just kind of tucking them in as I go. Now, I know later on I'm going to have to come back in and really secure them with some more glue when we're putting them down. But that's not something I'm worried about right now. I'm just trying to like kind of tack them in place. The thing here that I did notice, so like you have these swirly little vines, but they both they face the same direction. There's only one of them and it faces the same direction. And in order to make this a little bit more organic, I wanted them to face in various directions. Don't be afraid to just flip your die over. As long as you don't have a lot of impressions from your plate, it shouldn't be a problem to just flip it over, even if you have well-loved plates, and believe me, I do. If you put it into a piece of like copy paper as a buffer, then you should be able to still turn it over and kind of get the reverse image. And here's the first one. Like, I don't like the way that it's sitting in there. So I decided to flip it over. So I'm just going to use the same markers that I colored the front side with to color the back. And nobody's going to know. They're not going to know because it's just going to flow right into this scene. And unless they watched my little video here, they are not going to know. Also, don't be afraid to kind of tuck them into other leaves. Like if you want them to be a little bit taller than what they are, that's fine. Totally tuck them in there. Same thing with if you want them to be shorter, don't be afraid to trim them. It's whatever's going to work for your scene or your frame. And like I said before, I used the images that came in the kit, but if you have other die cut images, or you could even do this type of frame like over the stamp scene that's already in the kit and have that be in the background, and that would be great. Another thing that's included in the kit is a clear card front, so you could very, very easily turn these into shaker cards just by adding some foam tape and that clear card front to it, and they would make great shakers. They'd be so fun. So anyway, so I got done. I went into the hospital, and now, so normally for me, right, videos, roughly a half an hour-ish. When I set them to upload, typically they take about an hour. If I am uploading for a company and they have like an intro and an outro and stuff, sometimes it takes an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. And that's just kind of how long it takes. So now I told you I went to the hospital and I was like, I know that this is going to take me like 6 hours, because when I'm at home, it takes me a full hour to upload it. But whatever, I'm just going to accept it for whatever it is. So I get there and, of course, check on mom, talk to my sisters. I think, yeah, my dad was still there by the time I got there. My husband was just leaving. He was going to pick up Jelly Bean that night. So I sit down, I plug in my laptop, and I'm like, hey, this thing's going to take a million years. Let me just go ahead and get this started. Let's go back to the card. So here, this is the one that we ink blended, and it's already preset. So all of these little flowers are already giving us that kind of framed in look. But we're going to do something a little different. Before we went in and we added the, Copic markers and all of that. For this one, we are actually going to add that pine, the one that we cut out. It's the pine colored cardstock, or you could use Forest from Spellbinders. That's a good dark green as well. And we're going to shift it so that it gives us a little, like, it looks like a second layer and creates more dimension, but doesn't require as much coloring as the other look does. And so you'll see that here shortly. We're obviously, building up the card here, putting on our little mushrooms in front on top, filling up that area. And then we'll do the butterfly kind of on top of the, like the little branches. So, I'm like, this is gonna take 1 million years. So let me just go ahead and set it up so that way it's doing it in the background. And so I'm on their public network, and set it to upload. And I'm talking, to my parents and talking to my sisters and blah blah blah. And I look down, and it says 9 minutes, and I'm like, did I upload the wrong thing? Like, is there an issue with the video? Like, what? I don't understand what is happening here. No. I am paying for a internet speed of 400 megabytes per second. And I was like, dude, I have 400 at home, and it takes an hour and a half to upload it. How is this uploading in 9 minutes? So I wait the 9 minutes because, it's not a long time to wait. And then I play the video, and sure enough, it's the full video. I didn't upload the wrong thing. I was like, oh my word, this is amazing. So then I had to upload the next one, which would go onto the video channel or the business channel. And that one took 11 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is mind blowing. Like, I can't believe that we're paying almost $100 a month for our internet, and it's taking me this long. And now I'm at the hospital, and it's blazing through it. So we actually did the math. I was like, if I got in my car and drove the 20 minutes to the hospital, I set my video to upload in the parking lot using their public network, and it took 10 minutes. And then I drove back home. It would take 50 minutes, which is still less time than it takes me to upload at home in my own internet. Unbelievable. Let's talk about the card. So here, you can see that there's a lot going on here, but let's talk about how we can really set this scene to be dimensional. So first, I'm going to bring one of the mushrooms kind of up front. And then I'm also going to tuck some behind so that they look taller. See this one here? If I tuck him behind the leaf, now he looks like a super tall mushroom. And that helps give us a lot of dimension. We have the one in the back behind the leaves that looks a little bit far off. And then we have another one that's a little bit closer, which is kind of helping us create this visual triangle. But now it looks like we have so many different sizes of mushrooms, which is fantastic. And it's really giving us a lot of dimension. And then these little ones up front, again, we're, kind of tucking them behind the grasses, but they are helping to ground our image. So don't be afraid to kind of play around, with your elements to see how you can get more dimension. And then here you can see how that halo is helping us really look directly into the center where it is lightest. And so I put glue on the whole thing. Again, you could pop this up on foam, put a clear thing, make it a shaker. You could do lots of stuff with it. I kept it pretty simple for my frame. And then I'm lining it up around the edges, gluing that down. And then I'm going to go back in. Remember, I told you sometimes we have to go back in and kind of re-secure. That's what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to set my butterfly on top of my giant mushroom to kind of fill in that area. But I really think it, it came together so nicely. Here is that green piece I was telling you about. You can offset it any way that you would like. I offset mine typically down to the left because that's how I typically add my shadows when I'm coloring. So it's easiest just to keep everything copacetic. So here because they are the same size and I've, kind of moved it down into the left, I do have to trim off that little bit of excess. But then here, see, when we add just that little bit of darker green, that little bit of shadow, it's going to make our tree stump look like it's that much further into this deep, kind of magical wood back there. I did, of course, go in with my alcohol markers and blend in my butterfly as I would if I was, using any other stamped image. Because I like when they're all kind of matchy-matchy. That's what works for me. So I just go through, typically it's a lot of, the same colors I've already been using. But if you have not ever purchased or seen Sandy Allnock's hex chart, I would highly recommend that. It's fantastic when you're looking for a specific color. So here, this is another piece of pine. I've treated it with an anti-static tool. I'm stamping with the White Unicorn pigment ink, and then I will heat emboss it with white detail embossing powder before we move on to putting the final touches onto our card. So to wrap up my internet story, when I got home that night, I did a speed test. And do you know what my upload speed was? 10. 10. And then I was like, why am I paying for 400 if all I get is 10? And then I went and looked, and this is the catch. It says up to 400. So not more than 400, just up to it. So if you have anything less than that, they're still doing what they're supposed to be doing. Infuriating. I haven't decided what I'm going to do about it yet. So now we used the dies to cut out our heat emboss sentiments. We are adding some highlights and some polka dots to our other smaller mushrooms with our white gel pen. I love a glitter. You guys know that, so I'm using the glitter on the butterflies so that you can't see any of like my squiggly lines. I do tend to tap them afterward. I put some clear shimmer onto my mushrooms, and then that's both cards. So I hope this helps you to, maybe look at what you have and see what kind of scene you can create with the frame. I think they're very eye-catching. You guys have to let me know what you think. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.